Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to today's webinar, What Smart Business Leaders Don't Know About Field Service. I'm Sarah Nicastro, Editor-in-Chief of Field Technologies, and I'll be moderating today's event. Today we're going to talk about how the field service organization impacts all different aspects of a business. The impact of field service is vast, but the reality is that sometimes different aspects of the organization don't see how the service operation ties in with what they're responsible for. Today, Vidya Chidaga, Director of Product Marketing at ServiceMax, is going to walk us through the ways in which field service impacts different arms of an organization and what that should mean to you. Following Vidya's presentation, Dave Karavich, Director of Marketing at McKinley Equipment and McKinley Elevator, will provide us with his firsthand insight on how field services tied in with marketing in McKinley's organization. We're going to hold a live Q&A session after Vidya and Dave's presentations, but feel free to submit questions as we go along. We'll get to as many as possible during the Q&A, and any that we can't get to, we'll certainly follow up on after today's event. We're also going to be asking you two very quick poll questions during today's presentation, so please keep an eye out for that and give us a moment of your time to answer those. We appreciate your participation, and we'll share the results with you as well. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Vidya to begin today's session. Vidya?
Thank you, Sarah. Welcome, everyone. My name is Vidya Chidaga. I'm the Director of Product Marketing at ServiceMax. Super excited to host this topic. Was at a conference last week, and this is totally top of mind for so many of the service executives. Hopefully, at the end of this webinar, you'll know what smart business leaders should be doing and should be knowing and will know about field service. With that, let's get started. So who is this guy? Of course, it's Alfonso, but for folks in field service, he's a technician or a field service engineer. To folks in sales, he could be an incredible source of leads. To marketing, he's the face of your brand. To finance, he's a cash cow. He's a profit engine, a profit machine. To engineering and design, he's the voice of the customer. To operations, he's a key source of inventory control. To HR, he's an indispensable employee and also a mentor to younger workforce. All this and so much more. So let's talk about why each department in the organization that you're in the company that you're in, must pay close attention to Alfonso. So let's level set. If all of you can take a second and turn around and look at the wall behind you. Come on, turn around, look at the wall behind you. You'll see the writing on the wall, which is that our job in the service business is to expand the size of the pie, is to capture the untapped potential in this business around revenue, is to try and see how you can gather up those missed opportunities with wide arms. So that's the writing on the wall, and it's no surprise that service brings in more revenue. Look at this research from Aberdeen. Did you know that companies have actually increased service revenue by 12%? These are best-in-class companies, obviously, because of service operations. It's super interesting. And those laggard organizations have actually seen a decline of 7%. So it shows you really have to do something about improving your service revenue. Otherwise, you're going to see a decline in service revenue, which is kind of counterintuitive, but that's what it is. Oh, okay. That's the good time to bring up our poll question. Sarah, if you don't mind, can you just present the poll question to our audience?
Absolutely. So today we're talking about how field service impacts different aspects of an organization. So we're curious to know what your function is within your company. If you are in service, marketing, sales, product design and engineering, finance, operations, human resources, or something else. So if you can take a moment to answer the question that you should see there on your screen for us, that would be fantastic.
Awesome. And while the results are coming in, here's an interesting set of stats. According to the U.S. Department of Labor Statistics, by 2020, we would have about 6.6 million non-retail salespeople. Okay, that's good to know. Today, we have 5.4 million service technicians in the U.S. alone. And it's going to go up to 6.2 million by 2020. So if you think about it, literally, we would have the same number of salespeople as service technicians by 2020. And so why rely on just the 6.6 million sales guys to bring in revenue? Why can't we look at the other half? That's the missed opportunity. That's the untapped potential I'm talking about. And this service technician, ladies and gentlemen, are the eyes, ears, and the face of your brand, because they are standing in the living room of the customer or the operating room of the hospital, fixing stuff and representing your brand as they go about delivering customer service. And that's why we pay attention to them. And before I present this slide, Sarah, do we have the results of the survey?
We do, yes. So it looks like, based on the folks that have answered, about 45% are service. We don't have any marketing folks, 17% sales, 5% product design and engineering, 5% finance, 14% operations, no human resources, and 14% other.
Okay, that's super interesting. As expected, we do have a wide presence from the service organization. And it's good for me to know this, Sarah, because as I'm talking through these 6 functions you see on the screen today, it's good for me to know that there's a representation from sales, there's representation from operations, and of course from engineering and finance. And hopefully the message resonates with all of you in the audience. So if you're, for the 45% of you on the call today, you already know why field service is so critical to your organization's success. But what about the rest of the company? Obviously, the VP of sales is not dying to hear about how you can debrief multiple products on a single work order, or your CMO is not throwing a party because you've improved your first-time fix rate, right? So in today's webinar, let's talk about why they should care. Why sales and marketing and engineering and finance and operations and HR should care about field service. Let's start with sales. When it comes to sales, it seems like sales and service kind of go hand in hand. One does part of the job and then hands it off to the other person. In this case, sales is gone, made the sale, and now it's service to continue the relationship. So how many times has this happened? I'm sure the few sales guys on the call would totally agree with me that when you've been trying to call on the account for months, trying to convince them to replace that old piece of equipment with the latest state-of-the-art model, they've been putting you off, right? And then Mr. Alfonso from our previous slide, Mr. Alfonso from service shows up and he says, hey, that thing is ancient. I've heard good stuff about the new ones. And bam, you have a new contract, right? So what's the difference? Unlike the sales rep, the service rep is viewed as a trusted advisor to the customer. You know, he not just knows the technical product information, but the customer doesn't feel sold to. He doesn't feel like he's at a showroom where he's been asked to buy something. This is very genuine coming from a service person. And field technicians are an excellent source of cross-sell and upsell opportunities when they are able to bring back competitive information back to the organization. And visibility into service activities is so critical for sales. Just knowing just being able to see the same customer data at all times so that someone like Alfonso knows what contracts are in the works, keeping Alfonso well equipped and in the know so that he can see both what kind of they can see both the service revenue, the products that are sold, what's in-house and so on, that there's a connectivity between sales and service. Next is the top 3 reasons finance should care about field service. And I know there's at least one person in the audience today from finance. Service organizations, as you know, Mr. Finance Guy on this call, that you're going from, the service organizations are going from red to black on the P&L statement because of the green, because of the dollars they're bringing in. So leading organizations are looking to operate as a profit center and not a cost center, and they can only do that by bringing in service revenue. And luckily for the service organization, it's a high margin revenue that comes in from the service organization, and it's so key as the CFO is looking at numbers and is trying to figure out where can he get in more high margin profits, and that is from the service organization. And you guys know that stats have shown it costs less to keep and sell more to a happy existing customer than to find a new one. So why not take advantage of that? So happy, loyal customers are returning customers, and obviously they have the potential to drive more revenue year after year. Let's go towards engineering and product design. Now, how often in a company have you seen a service person sit in a roadmap discussion or sit in the product requirements gathering discussion driven by engineering and product teams? Pretty much never. And here's an interesting story from Gartner on Boeing. So before I pitch these 3 points, the story goes like this. On the Boeing aircraft, there was this one part that kept breaking. Now, for the technicians to get to that part, to actually fix and repair that part, they had to pull out 9 other layers of stuff from the aircraft. So obviously, after analysis, Boeing realized the time to repair was increased. Customer satisfaction was low. Customer was getting pissed off that it's taking so long to repair the part. So they fed this information back into product design and engineering and redesigned it in a way that this product is now up front. So, and of course, hopefully they fixed the product too, the part too, and didn't just stick with the design, but they keep design in mind, they keep service in mind when they design products now. Talk about innovation. If you went on a ride-along like we did at ServiceMax, I mean, the whole company went on a ride-along with service technicians at our customer site, you would find creative and ingenious ways of how your technician is actually using the product that's come out of production. So it's great for an engineering team to just tag along with the technician and see the product in action. Oh, top 3 reasons operations should care, and we have 15% of the audience today from operations, so welcome. The operation team, you guys obviously live and swear by metrics and forecasts and schedules. So maintaining the optimal inventory levels is always a pain. I mean, of course, I'm preaching to you guys, which doesn't make sense, but you have to have a sense of demand that's not just coming from dealers and distributors, but also from field technicians, right? So more insight into field service ensures that you have a proper understanding of the ongoing parts and inventory needs in the field. And really, who doesn't love logistics? Well, maybe not. So if your organization has depot repair operations, field service technology is critical to both smooth returns and moves and shipments and so on. And also, just imagine being able to scan a barcode using the same mobile device that your technician uses to get driving directions to the customer site. That's amazing. So that's how operations and field service kind of go hand in hand. And let's not forget efficiencies. Operations is always looking for ways to make things cleaner, easier, faster, and less error prone. And field service technology that includes parts management and logistics capabilities can have a huge impact on the productivity of your team and can speed up customer resolution time as well. And we have HR. Unfortunately, we don't have presence from HR, but all the other folks on the call, take this message to the HR organization, because let me tell you something. This critical trusted advisor is super important to your company's success. You know that, and your HR needs to know that too. As a matter of fact, some of the service-oriented industries like oil and gas and med devices and complex industrial equipment companies, in these industries, field engineers are highly sought after. They're highly paid and extremely difficult to replace. So anything that you can do, that HR can do to hang on to these valuable resources as long as possible is a big win for your recruiting department. So reward and retain and train them at the highest rate. So you will see key business metrics such as customer satisfaction go up as well. So HR, just keep in mind that these technicians' performance evaluations, they are an incredible source of data for what happens out with the customer, thereby improving and helping you perform better in your job. I know of companies where the customer may not know the name of the vendor, but they would know the name of the technician literally on the first name basis. So it's super important for HR to try and nurture these high-value assets within the organization. And the last point I have here is to combat the challenges of the senior workforce head-on, which is in that we know that the younger workforce is entering mainstream field service now. So use these senior workforce to train and to coach and mentor these younger workforce coming in. So you can take full advantage of that as well. I'm going to switch gears a little bit now. We are, for those of you who remember the slide with the 6 functions, I've covered 5 so far. We've spoken about sales and operations and engineering and finance and HR. There's one remaining, and before I talk about that, let's just talk about why we should pay attention to NPS or brand loyalty. By the way, NPS stands for Net Promoter Score. This is the one question companies could potentially ask their customers, saying, are you willing to recommend this solution to a friend or a colleague? And on an average, according to Aberdeen, the best-in-class service operations have seen a Net Promoter Score of 77, which is awesome. And then, the laggard organizations have just a score of 32, which just shows that there's room for improvement, and you got to work on moving from not keeping your customers happy to a service organization, which is going to impact the rest of the organization, to improving it to a stage where you have a better NPS score. And of course, the second aspect of brand loyalty is customer retention, customer stickiness, just being able to keep that existing customer happy and with you for longer. According to Bain & Company, a customer is 4 times more likely to buy from your competitor if the problem is service-related versus price or product-related. I mean, think about it. 4 times more likely. And needless to say, the social media and the current environment we are in is just going to promote bringing this frustration out of the customer into the masses. With that, I think we should ask another poll question, Sarah. Can we present the next question, please?
Absolutely. Okay, so here we're just looking to see if you have a dedicated sales and or marketing person assigned to service. So if you can just take a quick second, just a quick yes or no question. And we're going to come back and look at the results of this in just a bit, but for now we're going to hand it over to Dave Karovic with McKinley Equipment. Dave?
Hi, thank you for having me and allowing me to share my experience to hopefully help you all. My role at McKinley Equipment and McKinley Elevator includes running marketing for both companies under one roof, as well as spearheading our entrance into the retail store maintenance market, which gives me a sales role, essentially, which wouldn't have been possible had we not brought on field service technology into our company. So today, I want to talk to you about how I view the impact of field service on my marketing responsibilities and both of my company brands. First of all, just to understand who we are, McKinley Equipment, the blue logo, really aligns with the three pictures on the left. Essentially, we sell and service material handling equipment, loading dock equipment, commercial doors, freight lifts, and the like. McKinley Elevator, what we do is we are a distributor and service provider for home elevators, wheelchair lifts, stair lifts, and car lifts. We have a variety of customers. We can be dealing one day with a warehouse manager who used to drive a forklift. The next day or the next hour, a retail store manager concerned about keeping her store sales up. At McKinley Elevator, it can be a high-income homeowner with a showplace home elevator. Or it can be a fixed-income homeowner concerned about just getting upstairs to go to bed at night. As you can see, we have a broad range of customers and thus customer expectations. Here at McKinley, we set a standard in early 2013 to deliver a 5-star experience every time, regardless of who the customer is. So, as a marketing person, how are chief marketing officers measured? I found this survey to be quite interesting because it applies to quite a few of us in that role. One area we're measured at, and you can see is the number 2 most common area, is the customer experience. Why? Well, because the customer experience has a huge impact on how customers define our company brand. Let me say that again. A customer's experience has a huge impact on how we define, or how the customers define, our brand, and thus what they think of us, which directly impacts our future business and what they tell others about us. But here's the rub. In marketing, we typically don't directly manage most of the employees that interact with our customers. Yet, it's our responsibility to own this customer experience, to drive changes that improve the customer experience, and it's also our responsibility to find a way to make a positive customer experience a shared goal through the organization. So we marketing managers have to put on our sales hats and own a key task. For us at McKinley and for myself, that task was to find, recommend, and steer these customer experience improving tools towards my C-level counterparts. But here's the key that I realized, and I think could help a lot of folks, is when talking to your C-level counterparts, you must talk about revenue improvement and or lowering operating costs, just to get traction. We have to take you seriously. That makes you put on your strategic hat. So let's real quickly talk about the strategic marketer. We must think strategically when selling to the C-level. So we must be seen as a strategic marketer. We need to show how our marketing strategy, or at minimum our goal for a great customer experience, is integral to the sales and operations teams' goals and strategies. For the former, for the sales teams or sales managers, you need to discuss improving revenue and repeat business. It's pretty obvious. And for the latter, for operations, you need to discuss lowering costs and or improving efficiencies. Doing so will kill that "they make our stuff pretty" moniker that we in marketing all pretty much hate. But at the end of the day, realize it's a two-way street, and we're all integral to each other's strategies and goals. Our field technicians here at McKinley, well, first and foremost, let's look at it from the view of our customers. They are the heroes to them. They're the ones that come out, take care of it, fix something, get my mom upstairs to bed at night, that kind of thing. They're the heroes to them. Oops. Everything loaded. Let me get this slide back on accurately. Sorry about that. There we go. The field technicians are seen as the experts. Not me, not the sales team, not my CFO, these field technicians. They are the physical embodiment of our company brand. And as a result, our field service technology choice of ServiceMax in our situation, we're able to do things that we couldn't do before. And our field techs are improving month over month as they continually learn to treat every customer interaction as an opportunity to be great. So, the right tools and the right results. Having the right tools, you hope to get the right results. For us, we were able to put intelligence in the hands of our field technicians. We made our experts get smarter. It added a level of control to us in management rather than blind faith in how they interact with our customers. Well, what do I mean by that? Essentially, a lot of us go through that annual training with our mobile techs and teach them this is how you need to interact with your customers, et cetera. This gives you having the right tool, having a remote field service technology product allows you to guide them through this process when they're out in the field doing the work. For marketing, for me, the right tool provided me with data to leverage other technologies like customer surveys and social media. Let me talk about that for a moment. Every service call that we do, when it's complete remotely on the iPad out in the field, we'll send back all the final work order information to us. This automatically triggers a customer survey to be sent out asking customers to take 2 minutes and tell us how we did. 2 benefits to us. First of all, any, let's say, disgruntled customer, let's talk about the negative side real quick, allows them a way to just vent, get it out before they go to social media, before they go to Yelp. Secondly, on the positive side, the survey allows them to provide us with great information, also information to improve the way we're doing things, but how good or great that technician was, how they felt because of our service with that technician. Lastly, within the first year after we implemented ServiceMax, we increased our revenue 38% in that first year. I go back to talking about the C-level presentation to them as far as tools. This is the kind of thing that they want to hear. Finally, the customer experience. Now, I see it as a shared goal. Because of the surveys, we can now provide the service tech managers with data to better manage and train their techs. But it's not just the surveys. It's the data from the work orders that are coming back. Also, the survey feedback allows us to cheer on those 5-star field technicians. Creating a little bit of competition to do better is now a noticeable part of our culture here at McKinley. For the marketing group, the managers and the technicians give me unsolicited ideas now to improve the customer experience. Now, that is what I call ownership of the customer experience. Finally, the bottom line, everyone is seeing how they can impact our brand as individuals in their everyday job. I couldn't ask for more.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dave. It's great to hear from a marketer, and it's great to see that you've seen value in field service and what the organization can bring to make you successful in your role and McKinley as a whole. Before we go on, should we just quickly present the poll results, Sarah?
Yes, absolutely, and we're split right down the middle with this one. So.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Oh my God. It's like we fixed the results, but we didn't. It's 50 and 50. That's perfect. So I wanted to present this one last slide just so we end the conversation on the top 3 reasons marketers should care about field service. And you heard it from an actual marketer in a field service organization. But again, some of you have help, some of you don't have help. So we are split half and half. in the audience today. Just as you guys know, it's in today's world, to just reiterate what Dave was saying, your marketing department, your company no longer controls the brand image. Your customers control it. So when the field service team goes out to solve a problem face-to-face, they can help maintain and promote that brand image of your company. These and this would translate eventually into your top line numbers, because happy customers are your best spokesperson. There's referral. They stay on. They buy additional products, and that the cycle keeps going on and on. So with that, I wanted to call out the impact of ServiceMax that some of our customers have seen. I know Dave spoke about McKinley seeing a 38% increase in service revenue. That's awesome. But on an average, our customers have seen a 22% increase in service revenue, and that just goes to speak immensely about the power of a tool that's just the right tool at the right time. I don't want to go through the rest of the metrics, but you can see it's so critical to be able to talk about reducing service costs, either by bringing down the operating expenses, so the operations team is happy, or by reducing the time to repair. Thereby, the next sale becomes easy for the sales department, and so on. ServiceMax totally believes in offering and helping customers provide flawless field service to their customers, and we do that by perfecting the entire service supply chain, by maximizing service growth and revenue, and by delighting the customers along the way. Our mission is to empower every field technician in the world to deliver flawless field service, and we want to do that with an awesome end-to-end product line that we have. I was thinking about how I could pitch this slide and tie it back to what we spoke about early on in the conversation. So I'm going to try and do what I can on this slide, so bear with me. Of course, the end-to-end solution starts with contracts, goes all the way to analytics. But just to pick on entitlements, when there's this auto entitlement check, you know that the service organization is never giving away service for free, and you know that your sales department can now go and actually, even if the field service organization decides to provide service for free, the sales organization has record of it and can go the next time and say, hey, listen, we've provided $2,500 worth of free service last time they were here, so we cannot give you a discount on the actual sale price or whatever. So there's this tie-in within contracts. Then there's scheduling. Just the fact that the technician is able to arrive at the job on time every time is important, but it doesn't end there with ServiceMax. The technician now has the right parts and has visibility into trunk stock. So the operations team is super excited because they know that they can, the replenishment of trunk stock is done appropriately, and inventory holding costs are low, and so on, thereby bringing down your operating costs. So operations department can take advantage of the smooth running of the field service organization. Then reverse logistics and service parts, inventory and depot repair in the parts cloud that you see also directly ties into operations. Social is an aspect which is slightly different from what Dave was talking about. It's not the Facebook and the Yelp part, but social from within ServiceMax is actually meant for collaboration between technicians. So the HR is super happy in this situation because the training can happen on the go. You can bring the younger workforce and not spend 3 months training them behind a desk, but you can send them out on the first job, let's say the first week on the job, because he can pull up his iPad and quickly just call on the expert in the back office, because he can now, and you are able to make the most of the technicians you've hired right from week one. Customer and partner communities is super cool as well. in that marketing now has a window into seeing how customers are interacting with the organization. Like keep a pulse on the communities and see what's happening with respect to the customers. Are they looking at information beforehand? What can we do? Are they looking at product videos? Can marketing create more product videos? And for the 50% of you who don't have marketing or sales assistants, you can maybe look to outsource or get a contractor to develop certain product videos or marketing assets so that your communities can take advantage of it. Reports and dashboards and business insights are so critical from all executives' perspective, be it the CMO, the CSO, most importantly maybe the CFO in the finance department, because you can now look at numbers real time and crunch those analytics information easily at your fingertips. And all this on any mobile device of your choice. So really, ServiceMax helps you with this complete field service solution delivered in the cloud. By the way, we are native on Force.com, so we take advantage of some of the bells and whistles that come as a part of the Salesforce platform. Tons of success in both mid-market and enterprise. This is our logo slide. We have over 300 customers across the globe. So many of our customers have seen dramatic improvement, even in the first year of deployment. LightPoint, a case in point. LightPoint is the name of our customer, and they've increased their service revenues by 160% in the first year of deployment. That's amazing. Companies now have complete visibility into parts inventory. According to the Service Council, 11% of companies cite lack of visibility into parts inventory as the top field service challenge. And it literally doubles in the medical device industry. So our customers take advantage of that and are successful across the globe. I know I shared tons of information with you for so many different flavors, departments, organizations. I spoke about the problems and the solution and the product and the tool. It's too much to just take in. Thank you for listening to me, but there are great assets you can share and look at on ServiceMax.com. I should have put the URL on the screen. I didn't, but just go to ServiceMax.com/resources, and here, these three white papers are so relevant. Why smart marketers should care about field service, sales leaders, your CFO, and so on. And really, in just summarizing what ServiceMax brings to the table, just want to say it's fast, it's complete, and totally insightful to your organization. With that, I just want to open it up for any questions and answers. You have the Q&A panel to put in your questions, and we will take them as they come in.
Thank you, Vidya. Okay, so we have some questions here already, and for those of you out there listening, go ahead and type in any other questions you have now, and we'll see how many we can get to here in the next little bit. Dave, the first question is for you, and it is, Vidya just mentioned with another of their customer some of the benefits that they saw within the first year of deployment. What were the immediate benefits that McKinley saw when you initially started to deploy this solution?
That's a good question. At the time we were starting to implement, we hadn't grown in a few years. It was when the economy wasn't really strong. It was showing some weak signs of recovery a few years back. However, we saw an immediate impact in interest that we were actually doing something during that time frame just to make a difference, to be better than our competition, both inside the office and from the field technicians. Honestly, there was a large mood improvement at a time when people's moods weren't great. That was the immediate benefit before we went live that I saw. Okay, great. And what about from I was wondering, when you did go live, what did you guys experience then in terms of that continuing, and even feedback from your customers maybe, or different benefits that you guys started to experience? Yeah. Well, when we went live and customers saw what we were doing. And first of all, we have field technicians working on material handling equipment with welders and things like that, and they have an iPad with them. So first of all, it brought the curiosity level up with our customers. And as far as, well, what are you guys doing here? This is kind of high tech, what you have going on here. And we were able to show them that, without really pushing it on them, that we were now capturing a lot more information about the jobs on site, able to transmit that information back to our database in the office and start creating reports for them about their assets that they really didn't even consider were possible when we were paper-based.
Okay, so some definite benefits from that perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Vidya, let's hop over to you with one here. So we talked about these different groups today, and the question we have here is, how does IT fit into this picture?
Oh, I left out IT, huh? Well, you can answer it in so many ways. First off, this is a cloud-based system, so IT infrastructure is the onus of ServiceMax and not the company itself. That's big. But going down from a field service perspective, these mobile workers have mobile devices. I mean, it's just a perfect use case for field technicians. So from an IT perspective, BYOD or BYOA, which is bring your own Apple to work, is a great strategy. And companies, we've seen that IT organizations are now building policies and building and defining policies around BYOD. Communities is another thing which is big. So because ServiceMax is built on the Force.com platform from Salesforce, we take advantage of communities and so on, so the IT organization doesn't have to actually go ahead and maintain a separate community for the customers, for their customers and partners. So I feel like that's another way IT and field service kind of go hand in hand.
Okay. I thought of another question for you that just kind of came to mind for me, so I hope you don't mind me throwing it in here. But I was wondering, do you have any insight or opinion on, of the groups we talked about today and the different ways that they are affected by service and should be collaborating with service, do you have an opinion on which seems to have the hardest time with that, or which one is maybe lagging behind a bit on seeing the opportunity that's there?
Sure. That's a great question, Sarah. And you and I were both there in Boston last week where we heard conversations around service and sales being, it's almost like an oxymoron in that they see the value, but they don't know how to work with each other. It's like, yes, we need them, but they're like frenemies, right? Friends and enemies at the same time. It's like, I feel like conversations are happening around sales and service, and as long as the two work together and understand that how quotas are split, how you're not eating the other person's bread, and how you're just totally trying to expand the size of the pie, I feel like those conversations would lead to a good end game. But to answer your question, I think it's sales which is nearest to having an impact on service. And closely following is marketing, wherein there's money left on the table by not doing things with marketing. And it's totally cool if you don't have a marketing asset resource assigned to you. Go find it outside. You know, you can always go leverage a contractor, do stuff. Just people are just so web-driven today. Do stuff for your website. The word social scares so many people, but you can do just small things to take advantage of it. As a matter of fact, McKinley, Dave is from McKinley, and they've taken the help of ServiceMax to help market some of their services, so we can totally do that as well.
Okay, great. So, hey, Dave, coming back to you, there's a couple questions here, so let me start with this one. Did you experience any challenges with trying to get when you went through the process of migrating the technicians from paper to the iPads? What was your experience there?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question because let's be honest, I mean, most of our technicians are, shall we say, rough and tumble and the blue-collar type, and they were used to working with paper. Everybody knows how to write, but they weren't necessarily the ones that were the most tech-savvy in the organization, yet we were putting a very technologically advanced tool in their hands. So it really came down to adoption of it. And I mean, fortunately, the ServiceMax product on the iPad for us is very intuitive. But what we did was we provided our techs during the early implementation. We bought the iPads early, and we gave them the iPads, told them to go use it in their personal lives, to go play with them. And it was like watching kids in a candy store, to be honest. By the time we got around to training the techs, many of them were surprisingly better versed on using the iPad and web technology than we'd even hoped. So that was kind of where that all came together for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess I'm bringing a little bit of my own knowledge with what you guys have done now, but I do think it's really interesting. So not only did you have them use them early so that they could kind of get accustomed to them and maybe get excited a little bit about the project, but at least last I knew, you guys also do allow them to use them for themselves as well, right? So they can take them home in the evening or on the weekends and use them on their own time as well, right?
That is accurate, yes.
Okay. And so I thought that was a very interesting approach because, a lot of people talk about the issues with, creating buy-in overall, and then also the issues specifically when you're moving from a paper-based environment to any sort of device, the issue of having the technicians embrace the solution and then also have them take care of the devices. If it's something that they maybe can't use on their own or aren't allowed to use on their own, they might be more prone to just, throwing it around or, that sort of thing. So I thought that was a very interesting approach that you guys took. It's sort of, instead of bring your own device, it's like take your device home, and so I know that that's worked well for you guys in terms of having the techs really take good care of the equipment and be more invested in the solution, I think.
Exactly. We were going to have to let them take the iPads home anyway. We just figured might as well start early and get them used to it in their own comfort zone, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of the stress of the work part of it, what they're going to be required to do, go play with it. Get used to how it operates and moves, et cetera, especially if you haven't touched one before. It can be a little intimidating. But if you get used to it a few months ahead of time, and by the time we had to go live, they knew how to really navigate and get around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point, and I know some other organizations that have done that as well, sort of giving out the device aspect of the solution a little bit earlier on so that there's sort of a warm-up period before you're looking to really deploy the overall solution and go live with everything.
Sure.
Good. Vidya, coming back to you if that's okay, we have a question here that says, does ServiceMax integrate with existing ERP systems such as Microsoft AX or SAP?
Great question. We always have an integration question on webinars. And yes, the answer is field service technology or ServiceMax for that matter cannot exist in isolation. We obviously need information that's tucked away in ERP systems in the back end. So it's SAP, Oracle, Microsoft Azure. We've got QuickBooks integration. As a matter of fact, just last week, or was it this week? Oh my God, it's this week. We launched Spring 14 and we announced an out-of-the-box integration to QuickBooks and so on. So integration is a given, and we totally integrate to tons of other ERP and financial systems. Any system, basically we go through either your existing middleware solution, or if you're open to evaluating other vendors in the middleware space, we help you with that as well.
Okay, perfect. Dave, back to you. I feel like we're playing ping pong here. There's a question here that says, did you do any pre-implementation testing? And if so, how did that go?
So pre-implementation, implementation testing, yes, we did. We essentially went live, let's call it, with our beta, if you will, externally with, I think it was 3 of the technicians for 3 or 4 months. Then it was, honestly, when you go through implementation of this type, there's some speed bumps you run into. But it went well at the end of the day because we chose the technicians that were a little more tech savvy to give us their feedback on how it impacted their day and time out in the field. I mean, this is a time management, if not enhancement tool for them, but dealing with the technicians and asking them for their feedback was really key to us, and that was the initial testing that we did before we rolled it out and tried to started to train all the rest of the technicians throughout the organization.
Perfect. And so there's kind of a second part to this here. So you've said quite a bit about, sort of the smooth parts of this, in terms of what you guys did with giving people the devices early and how they were pretty receptive to it. But, it seems like with most of these stories, there's some sort of challenge that comes up or some sort of, issue along the way or lesson learned. And one of the audience members is asking, what was the biggest bridge to cross when you went through this implementation process?
Well, we went through it in conjunction with I'll call it a larger implementation of Salesforce.com. So we were implementing our CRM at the same time as ServiceMax. ServiceMax platform built on the Force.com platform, so we're somewhat integrated already. But the challenge to it, or the biggest bridge to cross, was really just rethinking our business processes. When you go from paper to going to live technology, I mean, it's a huge impact positively and negatively. It makes you have to think, what are we going to do every step of the way? Before, for example, we would get a paper work order that would be faxed into us from a technician that night when they got home. We'd provided all the technicians with fax machines, and they would essentially say, okay, need to order part XYZ and part ABC and get back out to the customer. So, okay, the next day we'd get to that at noon and order that part, hopefully the part be in 2 days. Well, there's like a 3 or 4 day gap there already. Now, with the technology, we had to get everybody just thinking faster and how they do their jobs. So it was a bridge from a technology standpoint, but also from a culture standpoint that we had to deal with. From going from 3 days to now we can probably have the part tomorrow at 10 o'clock because we found out about it at 1 o'clock live from the tech. I mean, we're moving that much faster now. It impacted dispatch. It impacted the way everybody worked.
Good point. Yeah, so it's not just the technology, it's sort of the thinking and the processes that go along with it.
Yep.
Do you guys have any subcontractors?
Do we have any subcontractors? For the service group, we do not.
Okay. So, Vidya, I'm going to give this question to you then since McKinley doesn't. There's a question here about how does the ServiceMax solution work in a service operation that does use subcontractors?
Well, I mean, if you've used subcontractors, then I feel it's an implementation thing. And frankly, I don't think I understand the question.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm reading it just how it was typed in. I'm assuming they're talking about, third-party service organizations and kind of supplementing your own service force with other third-party service workers.
And also, Sarah, I mean, just thinking about it now, if the person meant subcontractors as in for that customer, if they have subcontractors, then we totally have the partner portal or the partner community and subcontractors, authorized service providers, repair centers, whoever it is, they can get onto the portal and have a smaller version of, a lighter version of ServiceMax and have visibility into cases and parts and inventory and so on. Okay. I'm not sure if that was the question, but I'm answering it anyway.
Okay, I think so. We'll just assume yes, unless we hear something back from that person.
Okay.
Good. So let's see what we have next here. Vidya, there's a question here about how does the ServiceMax solution handle optimized scheduling?
Okay. That's a question we get a lot, and we had an exciting announcement this week. We just announced our partnership with Service Power. It's called ServiceMax Links for Service Power. So we are taking advantage of the world-class artificial intelligence-based continuous optimization from Service Power, and we've built an integration to it, and our product is called ServiceMax Links for Service Power. Along with that, I mean, that's targeted for the enterprise segment that have tons of technicians and lots of work orders that have to be taken care of on a daily basis. But for the mid-market as well, we have a homegrown OptiMax solution that handles continuous optimization as well, batch optimization as well, sorry. So, Sarah, it's a great time for me to say that we have a webinar coming up on the 29th of April. That's all on scheduling. So we'll talk about all the things I just spoke about in so much more detail, so folks can attend that if they have some time.
Okay, fantastic. Let's see here. I think we're just about out of time. So unless anyone has any final thoughts, I think we're okay to end for now. You guys will see here on the screen if there's any questions we didn't get to or anything you didn't have a chance to ask, you can certainly reach out to Vidya, and she'll be happy to get you some information, and her contact information is there on the screen. We thank you all very, very much for your time and look forward to having you on another webinar again soon. Everybody have a great day.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.